You are Black in the Green Room with me, your host, Keith Underwood. And this is your spot for real talk about entertainment with entertainers, creatives, and showbiz professionals. Joining me in the room today is TV host, media personality, social media influencer, and executive producer of The Sherri Shepherd Show, Jawn Murray. Jawn, welcome to the room.
Thank you for having me, Keith Underwood. Are you related to my friend Cheryl Underwood, Keith?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you what Cheryl says. All right, Cheryl says that you related to those house Underwoods. I'm related to those field Underwoods.
Sounds just like something Cheryl would say.
Yeah, no, that's a very true story, man. How you been?
Man, I'm good. You know, it is a great weekend here in New York City. I have a birthday this weekend. I'm chilling because I've been on the road like crazy. So I'm just grateful, man. Life is good and I have no complaints.
Speaking of your birthday, man, much love to all the Tauruses. Tell me about one of your most unforgettable birthdays growing up in Virginia.
Um, Unforgettable birthdays. It's funny. I can't say that I remember any unforgettable ones in Virginia. I will say this: my mom, Gloria Johnson, was a dynamic woman who always wanted to make us feel loved, particularly on our birthday. And so, traditionally, she would always make us a yellow cake with chocolate icing. So to this day, I like to find me a piece of yellow cake with chocolate icing on my birthday. I won't be down in the DC area spending time with her on my birthday this year, so I have to find my cake somewhere else.
Right.
There's a wonderful restaurant here in New York City called Melba's in Harlem, and they have a good yellow
Right.
cake with chocolate icing. And so I have brunch there this weekend, and I'll probably bring a slice home and have it the next day because my birthday is on Sunday. But I will tell you, I remember when I turned 30 years old, I decided to throw myself a party. And I found this lounge in Washington, D.C., and I, just invited everybody close to me to come. And I had a photographer who captured all the photos. And it was really, really a great night. And, so often we wait for other people to do things for us. But that was a year that I decided I was going to do something for myself. And it was just so great having my friends and my family and all these people in this space. And we were all partying and celebrating together. So that was probably my most memorable birthday. But my mom loving on me every year on my birthday just always makes it special nonetheless.
Right. What's going to be special about this one?
This birthday, I have not made any plans. For the
Really?
last couple of years, I've gone to the spa on my birthday because I go so hard all year long that I try to find pivotal moments throughout the year to just do a spa day so that I can reset. We have about 7 more weeks of the Sherri Show before we go on our summer vacation. And so I may try to sneak a spa day in, but this week, this is our first week back after our spring break. And it's been such a chaotic week, to say the least,
Right.
that I hadn't even made any plans for my birthday.
What's been going on, Jawn? Talk to me about it.
Oh, listen, that's the stuff that if I tell you about it, I'd have to kill you. But it's the
Well,
business of
well,
show.
I like living, so
It's just the business show business, navigating through the scope of the daily work of the show, while also doing appearances and events and going to wonderful things like the opening of the Wiz. It just, it creates a robust type of schedule. And as a person who is naturally a little bit of a homebody and who loves 8 hours of sleep, let's just say I'm not getting much of it this week.
All right. Man, I'm loving, what is that? A jacket, a shirt? I'm really liking it, man.
Oh, what is this? It's just a little zip up hoodie I got on.
Yeah, no, that's fly, man. I really like that. So, Jawn, if you're we're looking at your career in media, and with so many credits, being in the business seems like something that you've always lived. What would life be like if you didn't have it?
Um, Well, if I wasn't working in the entertainment industry and I wasn't doing work on this level, I probably would have gone to culinary school and became a celebrity chef.
Mm,
I say a celebrity chef because I like to achieve at a high level at everything that I do. And so, but I love cooking. It's like one of my favorite pastimes. If you catch me in a hotel and it's only got like 10 channels and there's nothing on TV, I'm probably going to park on the Food Network all day. I love it so much that I was so grateful when I got a call late last year, and it actually aired this past January, to appear on an episode of the Delicious Miss Brown, hosted by Carly
mm.
around on the Food Network, because that's a space that I love, a space that I would love to play in, more as a host, as a personality. But I just love food in general. So if I wasn't working in entertainment as a multi-hyphenate, creative, talent, producer, etc., I would probably be working in the culinary industry, which would have probably brought me full circle into television anyway. So I maybe would have had the best of both worlds.
That's right. That's right. John, what's your go-to dish?
It just depends on the day of the week. Like, I eat a salad almost every other night. I just love a salad. And my mom, she's in DC. I'm here in New York. She always says, "I miss you being down here because it's warming up and you do I love your salads." But I'm great with pastas. I love a good hot roast. I love root vegetables. It just depends on what I have a taste for. But my good friend Carew Daniels, who is an editor at the New York Daily News, now that I'm living here in New York and I have not learned the art of cooking for one person, I often cook more food than I'm able to. And so I bring Sherri Shepherd's assistant Edie and her Emmy-winning makeup guy Rodney John. I often bring them lunch when I cook. I'll tell Carew, are you going to a Broadway show? Stop by my place and pick up a plate. And particularly in the wintertime, they love when I make soups. I'm really good at soups and stews. And so, yeah, but I just love food, man.
Yeah, let me tell you, the next time I'm in New York, I'm expecting that dinner invite, man.
Yeah, listen, just as long as you come on, I cook like once a week here because with the schedule we keep, it's a lot of eating out, or it's a lot of. I mean, listen, I cook once a week when I'm not making a salad. I should say that. Sundays are like the days that I usually try to cook a more elaborate meal so that I'm not eating out every day.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. With all that you've done, Tom Joyner, VH1, HLN, NBC, Your Web, the Travel Channel, Today, The View, and so much more. It seems like this industry really loves you, man. What do you think it is that makes you so marketable?
Listen, I don't know how much it is about the industry loving me as it is about me just not going away. I didn't have a backup plan. I decided I wanted to work in this business. Writing was my entree in. I was an entertainment news writer for the first act of my career. And about 4 years into my entertainment news writing, around the time that I had landed at AOL and I was writing a widely popular column for their AOL Black Voices division, I joined the Tom Joyner Morning Show. And so for 7 years, I had the duality of writing this column, being on the radio. I was doing 100,000 frequent flyer miles a year, traveling the world. I'd be home on a Wednesday, maybe a Thursday, and only seeing my family for like Christmas and Thanksgiving. And so then in 2011, man, I got burnt out, and I felt like I was giving so much of myself to my backup plan that my first goal of being in television was taking a back seat to it. And so I lived off my savings for a year, and I put a plan in place to get myself on television. And the journey in TV has been the hardest of the journeys that I've had to do because it's the most rejection I ever felt in the business. I opened the doors for myself as a writer. The Tom Joyner Morning Show came after me because of the success I had created as a writer. But television, my success was predicated on older white men seeing the value in me. And the matter is that wasn't always easy. And so, but because I didn't have a backup plan, and I was insistent that I was going to stay the course and see this dream through, I'm still here, I'm still standing. And so when people come to me now and ask for advice on, oh my God, what should I do? And oh my God, I have these dreams. All I can tell them is stay the course, because you don't know if you're going to win the game if you get out of the game. And I decided I was never going to get off the field.
Right. What was your method for getting, past those challenges?
You just have to push through. I have a foundation in faith. So, I pray a lot. I have a good circle, a good network of friends.
Yeah.
We keep each other encouraged and inspired. And for me, it was always staying ready so I wouldn't have to get ready. I studied this business. I could be in various sectors and in various settings of the business, and I could have a very intellectual conversation with you about most aspects of the entertainment industry. I had something to contribute because I had done the work. I had studied, show myself approved. And so for me, just knowing that I had a great skill and that I believe that God did not bring me this far to leave me. It was the thing that just allowed me to continue to go forward, because otherwise, you know, like so many of my peers, so many of my friends, people who started making babies and creating families and creating bills that they had to start paying, they left the business and had to go get 9 to 5s because you have to finance your lifestyle. And for me, I kept things nimble and focusing on the work and sacrificing areas that would allow me to stay the course and to keep myself on the field. And that's why I'm still in the game to the day.
You know, for Jawn, I was just wondering, with all the transitions that you've had in your career, how do you know when it's time to leave and make that transition?
Yeah, for me, it's always been about spirit, and it's always been about spirits and science. Like when I decided to leave the Tom Jordan Morning Show, I wasn't happy on the show anymore, and I probably stayed 6 months later than I really should have stayed. The last 6 months was really kind of tough because I was really phoning it in because I just did not want to be there. And I remember watching an episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show, and what is his name from The West Wing? Lowe. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you his name. Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe.
Winfrey Show. And I still have his quote in my phone because it really impacted me. Oprah asked him, why did he leave the West Wing when the show was in this phase where it was getting all of this attention and winning all these accolades. They had just won a big Emmy, and he decided to leave the show nonetheless. And he said, I'm not bitter about it at all. It was a real learning experience because I want my kids, when they're in something that's cool and lauded and everybody's paying attention and it's the greatest thing that ever happened to them, but if behind the scenes they're not being respected, they need to leave. And there were a lot of challenges behind the scene at the Tom Jordan Morning Show, not necessarily with Tom or Sybil or J. Anthony Brown or any of the remarkable on-air talents that I work with, but just some of the business infrastructure behind the scenes. It just didn't serve me well, and I wasn't happy any longer. And there were some people that really kind of wanted to be in the space that I was in, and there was, trying to sabotage and undermine and things like that. And I dealt with it probably a little longer than I should have. And so I heard Rob Lowe on the Oprah Winfrey Show deliver that statement. And I literally called my business manager and said, put my resignation in. And she was shocked. She's like, you're really going to quit the show? I said, absolutely. Wow. And so for me, I felt like watching the Oprah Winfrey Show that day and hearing Rob Lowe say what he said. It was the confirmation of something that I had already known, but I was dragging my feet on pushing a button on it. And so for me, I'm always led by the Spirit. I'm always going to pray. I'm always going to seek God in every decision I make. And I really use that as my compass to guide me and to really help shape the decisions that I've made throughout the entire course of my career.
Is there a such thing as an it factor when it comes to media personalities? And if so, what is it?
I think there's an it factor as it pertains to any genre, any sector. I think if you work at a government job, you've got that star employee, that person who sticks out. They walk in the room, they light up the room. Their energy is infectious. That's the it factor. I think you watch a competition show on TV, and there's certain singers that hit the stage, and it's just something about the gravitas that they bring to a performance and everything that they say and sing and every nuance of their performance you are glued to. That's the it factor. And I think there are people who have the it factor in every facet of life or every genre in which we consume in entertainment. And I definitely think those are the things that help people stand out in the crowd.
So isn't it interesting too, how that feeling is universal, that it's not just one person that feels it, but like groups of people, no matter where that person goes?
Yeah, absolutely. Like listen, we've all been in situations where someone walks into a room or something and everybody's like, who is that? When you gravitate them, you want to know them. That's somebody who has that it factor. And that might not be somebody who's working in their desired field or they're still trying to break through, but they have the capacity to excel because there's this extra thing about them that's going to give them the draw that they need to be successful in their respective genres.
And then as a producer, how do you nurture that, Jawn?
Well, as it pertains to TV, I try to only surround myself with people who have the it factor. I want my producers on my show to have the it factor. I want the people who step out on the stage opposite Sherri to have the it factor. For me, it's not necessarily something that I need to nurture. It's just something that you should have instinctively. Like, either the it factor isn't something you can teach. It's not something you can train. It's
That's
not something
right.
you own. Either you have it or you don't. And now anybody can maybe learn a profession or you learn how to do something well, but it's just those people who have that extra added spark. That's the it factor. And I don't think that's something you can teach.
Yeah, I agree. You started out in this business as a writer and a researcher. How important is it for an aspiring media personality to have a background in communications and journalism?
Yeah, I mean, I think every media personality really should have the fundamentals of journalism down before they want to get into the business. Writing was my backup plan. I was a self-taught writer, and then I started taking electives while I was in college at Norfolk State University to really refine that skill and really understand the world of journalism so that I could be one of the best in my genre. And when I was working in it and starting out in the entertainment news field, there weren't a lot of Black men doing their work. There wasn't a lot
Mhm.
of spaces that celebrated Black Hollywood culture and Black musicians in the capacity in which I saw my white counterparts being celebrated, or the platforms in which they were showcased. And so I really wanted to carve a niche for the business. I really wanted to give space in the business for Black entertainment to be able to shine. And I was somebody who didn't grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth. So knowing the business, learning the business, being the smartest and most informed person in the room, for me, it was the kryptonite that I needed to kind of break through in spaces where I had to open my own doors, where I had to fake it until I make it. And so it became my superpower. I was interning at a radio station in Washington, D.C. called WPGC. And I have to spend a day or do promotional runs with recording artists in the market, and I could have such good conversation with them about their success, or the songs on their albums, or their collaborations with producers and stuff, because I would have gone to a Barnes and Noble or Borders Books and Music and read the trade publications and really understand who that talent was. So when those artists started coming back to the markets, they would ask the program directors and stuff, "Can y'all assign Jawn to me again?" Keith, it got to the point where the assistant program director came to me, because she also oversaw all the interns at the time, and asked me, was I selling drugs? Because she wanted to know why all the entertainers wanted to hang out with me every time they were in the market. But they enjoyed the fact that, one, I didn't treat them like they were stars. I had human conversations with them, but I also could have conversations with them about their careers, and I was always prepared in any instance that I was put in.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to be that trailblazer? You were saying it was early that it was important for you to kind of set that pace for Black men in journalism. Why was that important to you? I mean,
You
outside
know,
of your own career, of course.
yeah, no, for me, it really was about creating a platform in an area that I enjoyed, but there weren't a lot of me's, very few, if any, working in that space. Like, I loved entertainment news. I loved the news magazines and the news magazine TV shows like Entertainment Tonight and Access. And I was reading People magazine and In Touch Weekly and all these places, but they would give 10% of their editorial to a Black star. And so when I created my online newsletter, when I then was hired to do a twice weekly newsletter for EUR Web, when I then started working for AOL Black Voices, I wanted my content to mirror the formats that the white publications were using to
Hmm.
amplify and celebrate and do stories and recognize their stars. But I wanted to center it in a culture that was the reason that I existed in this business, which was Black Hollywood, Black entertainment, the Black music industry. And so while I was one of the first few to really thrive in this space as a Black man, I'm so grateful that there's so many people. Well, I remember, Keith, when I first started, because I specialized in celebrity coverage, I used to call myself a celebrity journalist. The next
Hmm.
thing I knew, everybody was calling themselves a celebrity journalist. And so I always like to shake it up and mix it up some. And I'll never forget one time I was on CNN, because I was regularly doing segments on Brooke Baldwin's midday show. And she introduced me and she called me a pop culture expert. And I'll never forget, my marketing executive, Sheila Eldridge, called me and said, "You need to stick with that one." And I started being a pop culture expert. And now everybody's calling themselves a pop culture expert. And so I always feel like I've been at the forefront of these movements and these waves in the entertainment business. And I'm just glad I did enough to create space for so many other people to be able to walk and thrive in it.
Right. Oh, make them waves, John. Make those waves. So, what is the difference between a social media influencer and a social media content creator?
Uh, there's not much difference. The only real difference is, are you creating content that you are able to monetize, or are you creating content just because you like being on the internet? And
Mm,
I'm somebody who's been able to create content and capitalize financially off of my social media. And that's something I'm grateful for. You know, when in the early phases of the internet being a tool in which people could use to subsidize their lifestyle, I was able to take my fundamentals in journalism and apply it to my storytelling on social media. And it became an aspect that supplemented the work that I was doing in television and other things. And so for me, it's been a fun space. It's been a space that I've been able to have great success in. I hope to continue to have great success in. But I think the difference is there are lots of people who are on social media creating content, but I think there's only a sector of people online who are able to monetize that content.
that's right. That's right. Um, what's the worst thing that an aspiring media personality can do during an audition?
Oh, during an audition? I don't know. That's a good question. You know, I've been really blessed that I did not have to audition a lot for work. A lot of the opportunities and things were offered to me. People came to me, they had me in mind. I have in the TV space, we do this thing called chemistry testing. And it's probably the closest thing that I've ever really done to an audition. And basically, it's like the game musical chairs. They have you work with numerous people just to see who has the best chemistry, and they record.
Like speed dating.
It's like, yeah, it's like TV speed dating, TV musical chairs. And you know, that's probably the closest thing I've ever done to an audition. But I tell everybody, no matter what you're doing in life, just approach it from a place of authenticity. Show up
Mhm.
and be yourself. And yes, in the world of entertainment, sometimes you're giving a heightened version of yourself. But as close as you can be to yourself
Mhm.
will allow you to cut through the clutter, because no one can be you. No one can outdo you being you, you know?
That's
If you
right.
if you give the best version of yourself, if what you're offering is what people want to work with, then you don't ever have to worry about having to be anybody else. You show
Mhm.
up and you're pretending to be somebody else. How long will you be able to fake that persona of yourself if you actually land this opportunity?
That's right. That's right. Your relationship with Sherri, it just seems so organic, man. What's a night out with you guys like?
Sherry and I are very different.
Mhm.
So a night out with I'll tell you this. So we went to the opening of The Wiz on Broadway earlier this week, and on our way to the venue, I'm on my phone answering text messages, and Sherry's napping in the Uber. Uh, uh, she gets some of her best sleeps in an Uber. But we get to the venue, and I know who everyone is, and Sherry knows who nobody is, because Sherry has prosopagnosia, which is the facial blindness condition. And so unless she
Mm,
really knows you well, unless you're like Brad Pitt walking down the red carpet, she might not recognize you. And she gets overstimulated in crowded spaces. And so
mm.
when I'm hanging out with her, it's almost like hanging out with Stevie Wonder. I'm whispering in her ear, hey, Sherry, here comes your son Jeffrey. Oh my God, Jeffrey, mommy loves you. Because she just, all she sees is two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. She doesn't make out the rest of the features of your face. And it's really a condition. Brad Pitt talks about having prosopagnosia on the cover of GQ magazine. And Sherry never really understood what her condition was until she did a show called Trial and Error, and her character had all these different conditions. And when they sent her the episode where her character deals with prosopagnosia, Sherry read the description and cried because she finally was able to identify what it is that she struggled with when it comes to this stuff. But I'm like the mayor. I'm in the room. I know everybody. I'm working the room. I'm talking to people. I'm booking guests for the show. And Sherry's sitting pretty in her seat. And, you know, she's holding court and people are coming and loving on her. And there's some people that she, you know, wants to see and wants to talk to, but we're very different when we're out, you know. And when we go out, it really is with a mission. Like we were able to take a vacation with two of the members on our team in Las Vegas recently, and we had a great time eating at all the celebrity restaurants and seeing so many wonderful shows. But typically, when we're hanging out together now, we're out with a mission, and we work
Mm.
very differently when we're out, you know, because I'm the mayor and she's posted up.
All right, for post it up. Okay, John. I what I've noticed with the Sherry Show and what it's been another trend-setting show with is the fact that you guys unapologetically have a lot of Black folks on the show and a lot of maybe not as well known Black folks on the show. Why was that important to you?
Well, I don't know that that was done with intention. I mean, listen, I'm in the business of liking who likes us. And
Mm.
um, our show, from a viewer standpoint, has a very wide audience. You know, we are a
Hmm.
very diverse show. Overall, you know, we perform well with all sectors, Black people, white people, and everybody in between.
Hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, we tried to curate a show that felt very organic and natural to Sherry. And so, you know, there are people that she's worked with, there's people that she knows, there's people that she's familiar with. Well, we try to, you know, create space for them to come on the show. But for every Black celebrity we have on the show, I mean, we've had the Duchess of Sarah Ferguson, we've had
Hmm.
Sly Stallone and John Lithgow, and we've had huge white stars, you know,
Hmm.
A-listers come on our show and really enjoy what we do. So we're like a melting pot, you know, it's a little bit of everybody. I was so excited, and our staff was so excited to have the legendary Huey Lewis on the show
Right.
this week, particularly after the resurgence of attention that he's getting for the Best Night in Pop documentary about the recording of the song "We Are the World," and with his new Broadway show, you know, that's just launching. And so, you know, we do have a nice cross section of people, but we're a very inclusive show. You know, typically, if you see a Black lead guest, you might see a white expert later in the show, or
Hmm.
you see a white lead guest, you might see a Black chef on the show. And so, you know, it's never, you know, listen, we know we're not doing a show for BET. We're doing a show for a mass audience, and but we're glad that we can be very inclusive while doing this show.
Oh. John, if you could collaborate with anyone on your one of your professional peers right now, who would it be and why?
You know what? I went to the premiere of Tyler Perry's Mia Culpa,
Mm.
and he came over to me on the red carpet, and he was so complimentary of what we've been able to accomplish with the Sherri Show. And he told me he was so proud of me. And he actually told me he had just called Sherri Shepherd and asked her for my telephone number. And I said, "Well, why you ain't call me?" And he says, "I got distracted. I never got around to it." I said, "Well, call me anytime." But you know, Tyler's doing things on another level. I love what he's done with his studio down in Atlanta. So I would love to collaborate with Tyler Perry. I'm open to anybody who's open to working with me. I've got a lot of projects and things that I want to do outside of the Sherri Show, and whether it's an Oprah or a Tyler or a Will Packer or whoever, I'm open to partnering with people who are working at a high level and having great success.
That's right. That sounds good, man. I'm sorry, scripted. Are you interested in doing anything in the scripted space?
I'd love to produce some Christmas movies. You know, I love the resurgence of the holiday film, and how each year I think we're getting like 100 new holiday movies. And listen, we know some of them are the same story told over and over again, or as my late great Aunt Ann would say, the same soup warmed over. But I have some fresh ideas and some things that could really play well in the holiday movie space. And so that's one of the things I'd really like to venture in. And I have two ideas for two sitcoms that I'd like to see come to fruition. You know, I'm ready for Hollywood to really get back to work. You know, there've been so many stories in the trades about how the industry has not completely returned
Mm.
since the strike. And so, but yes, I'd love to play in the scripted space. I have no desires to be an actor. I'm not trying to be on camera in that capacity. I like being myself. So hosting and judging and all of that stuff that lends to my personality work, I want to do that in that capacity. But as it pertains to the scripted space, I just want to, you know, create some content and go to the bank.
All right. What would the Jawn Murray show look like?
As far as what, one of the scripted shows?
No, as far as a talk show, what would the Jawn Murray show look like?
Oh, well, I have an idea for something I'd like to do later. Uh, but you know, you share ideas publicly and other people do them. So the Jawn Murray show looks like a great idea that I
Your
have.
your secret's safe with me, John.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be safe in the vault of my mind.
Jawn, where can everybody find you on social media?
Listen, I'm on most things. You know, I have a black mom, and my dad was John, but my mom didn't want my name spelled that way. So I'm Jawn. That's John. So you can find me on most things at Jawn Murray, Murray. That's Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and then you can find me on Facebook at Jawn Murray World. I have a TikTok, but I have not blessed it with any content yet. So that's something I'm working on for later this year. But yeah, you can find me on socials. I'm pretty active there. And I try to keep up with most of people's comments and the things that they say, because I love to hear people's feedback on some of the things that we're doing for sure.
What's next for Jawn Murray?
What's next is I'm gonna get a good nap after this good conversation we just had, Keith. And listen, it is we've got 7 more weeks of the Sherri Show. Show is doing well. We're coming off of a People's Choice Award nomination, and we were nominated again for an NAACP award. We won season 1 for Outstanding Talk Show. For those who are listening, they can't see that I have my Image Award right over my but you know, I'm excited for our next 7 weeks. You know, one of the things that is one of the pillars of this show is we love to give people their flowers, and so we have some real special guests coming up in the days and weeks to come on the Sherri Show that we get to celebrate. Folks like the legendary talk show host Sally Jesse Raphael, and music icon Melba Moore, and you know, last year we had Dr. Bobby Jones on our show, radio legend Tom Joyner, who both and I both did our own respective stints on his show. And so, you know, the legendary Kiki Shepherd was on our show last year. And so we love being able to celebrate these unsung heroes or these legends that, you know, out of sight and out of mind. And so we, like I said, we have some more coming up. And so the next 7 weeks, you know, we'll have brand new shows on the Sherri Show well into June. I'm excited for the shows and what, you know, the stories that we'll tell. And I'm always excited to see this little short, funny lady deliver her monologue at the top of the show, because you never know what you're going to get from Sherri. So a lot more Sherri for the next 7 weeks. And then I'm excited to both travel and work on some of my own projects this upcoming summer.
I love it. I love it, man. Thank you so much for joining me, Jawn. This has been really good. Man, you're so candid and open. I love that.
Listen, I try to be, Keith.
Right.
Keith, no relation to Cheryl Underwood, of course.
As far as I know.
As far as you know.
Right.
Be sure to follow me, Keith Underwood, at Mr. Keith L. Underwood on IG. You can also follow me on FB at Keith L. Underwood. And you know you gotta follow Black in the Green Room at Black in the Green Room across all platforms. Until next time, this has been Black in the Green Room.